based on the story The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, animated by Cindi Parkinson and narrated by Jodi Parkinson. Landing in the year 802,701 AD. Most of the listeners were in the shadow, for the candles in the smoking room had not been lit. The small lamp shone on only the speaker's earnest face, on the right his puzzled face, and on the lower legs of the portly editor. As the time traveler began talking, the men glanced at each other every now and then. After a while, though, they stopped doing that and only looked at the time traveler's face. This, then, is her story, and these her very own words. I felt like a woman about to commit suicide as I got ready to test my machine. It was 10 o'clock this very morning, right down the hall in my lab. I gave the machine one last tap, tried all the screws again, and put one more drop of oil on the quartz rod. Then I seated myself in the saddle. Steady, I told myself, this is it. I took the starting lever in one hand and stopping lever in the other. Then I pulled over the first and almost immediately the second. I felt myself trembling, and then came that feeling of falling you get in a nightmare, that was all. How long it lasted I didn't know. What's this, I exclaimed to myself, coming awake. Everything in the lab looks exactly the same as before. Hasn't anything happened? It was then that I noticed the clock. Just a moment before, it had stood at a minute or so past 10. That was nearly 3:30. It's a success! It's a success, I told myself. The machine has moved me to the fourth dimension, time. I took a deep breath, set my teeth, and this time gripped the starting lever with both hands. The lab got hazy and went dark. I pulled the lever to its extreme position. Night came, and in another moment, morning. The lab grew fainter and hazier. The next night came in very black, then day again, night again, day again, faster and faster each time. I had the sensation of a helpless and confused headlong movement as the lab seemed to drop away from me. I figured the lab eventually had fallen apart along with my house, and I was now in the open air, in the spot where the house used to be. Night continued to follow day, like the quick flapping of a black wing. Then I saw the sun hopping swiftly across the sky, leaping it every minute. How fast I am traveling, I thought, and every minute is marking a day. The twinkling succession of darkness and light was very painful to my eyes. I saw the moon spinning through its quarters from new moon to full moon, and I had a faint glimpse of the circling stars. It's amazing that I haven't moved off of space, I kept telling myself. Actually, I was still on the hillside on which this house now stands. It was time traveling that turned night and day into continuous grayness, and made the jerking sun a streak of fire, and the moon a faint wavy band. I saw trees growing and changing like puffs of smoke, greening, browning, spreading, shivering, and passing away. I saw buildings rise up, faint and fair, then pass like dreams. The hand of my speedometer went ever faster. The sun went up and down with such fantastic speed that I knew I was traveling at over a year a minute. 1900 AD, 2000 AD, 10,000 AD, 50,000 AD. At first I hardly thought of stopping, then all kinds of thoughts went through my head. 100,000 AD, 200,000 AD, 500,000 AD. I wonder what's happened to the human race. What marvelous new advances on our simple civilization will I find? Next I began to worry that something terrible would happen when I landed. What if some new building or other object now stands in the spot my lab used to occupy? Why should there be a collision that could blow both me and my machine into the great unknown? Finally I had enough of wondering, of worrying, and of the falling feeling. In a move of nervous impatience, I hit the stop lever hard. The date dial stood at 802,701 AD as the machine went tumbling over and over on its side. To the loud sound of thunder, I was flung out into the air. I think I was stunned for a moment. I found myself sprawled on a grassy lawn in front of the overturned craft. Hail was coming down around me, and it drove about the ground like smoke. Soon I was completely soaked. All I could see through the hazy downpour were clusters of purple rhododendron bushes and a huge white marble figure. That's a pretty tall statue, I thought, judging by the birch tree next to it. The tree reaches up only to the statue's shoulder. The statue looked like a sphinx with hovering wings. Its sightless eyes seemed to be watching me. There was a faint shadow of a smile on its lips. The pedestal on which it stood was made of bronze, and it had turned green with age. As the hill cleared and a blue summer sky appeared, I began to see other vast shapes, huge buildings with tall columns. Panic came over me. I've got to straighten you out and get out of here, I hissed to my machine. Grappling fiercely with it wrist and knee, I finally got it upright again, but it struck my chin hard in the process and left a deep cut. I was about to mount and take off when my courage came back. I looked around more curiously and less fearfully at this world of the future. High on the wall of the nearest building was a round opening. Inside the opening, several figures dressed in rich, soft robes were watching me. New worries hit my mind. How has man developed? Has he become cruel and insensitive? What if I seem to them like some old-world savage? What if they think of me as an animal, a foul creature to be killed? Then I heard voices coming from another direction and saw some men running from the bushes by the White Sphinx. One of these men took a pathway leading straight into the little lawn on which I stood with my machine. He was only about 4 feet tall and was dressed in a purple tunic and leather sandals. His soft, blonde hair curled around his face. He struck me as being beautiful and graceful but delicate. His flushed face made me think of illness rather than of health. "This creature is no threat to me," I said, my confidence now returning. The young man came right up to me without any fear and laughed into my eyes. Then he turned and spoke in a very strange but sweet-sounding language to the two who were following him. They, too, laughed. I let them come closer and touch my hand. Then they ran their little pink hands over my back and shoulders. They seemed to want to make sure that the giant they faced was real. But when they began to touch the time machine, I made a warning gesture. I said, "Off limits, that's my return ticket from your playland." That reminded me of a danger I had forgotten all about. The time machine must not be operated by anyone else while I was away from it. Better not take any chances, I told myself. I reached over the bars of the machine and unscrewed the little levers that would get it started. These I put safely in my pocket.